when you talk about that engagement score, for example, you're missing everything. You just got, a lagging indicator of everything else that's happening in the organisation. So I've never really liked the word engagement as a product, because it's much more than engagement. It's the whole.
Hi, Marieke. Thank you so much for joining us today on our Behind the People series. I'd love to start by asking you to introduce yourself and the consultancy that you run.
Thanks, Kathryn. Thanks for having me. Yes, my name is Marieke. I run Up Advisory, which is a small consulting firm based here in Singapore. And our focus is really helping our clients to improve the employee experience from hire to retire through the use of human touch integrated with technology primarily.
So, Marieke, you spent much of your career focused on employee engagement and the employee experience more widely. So what are you observing in these areas during these unusual times?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit interesting. There's a lot of, for people that follow the employee engagement space, you'll see research where employee engagement scores are rising. And that's, of course, super interesting. When you break down an engagement model, you'll notice that there's nearly always an element of commitment. There's a question, are you intending to stay at this company? So part of the engagement models are measuring your loyalty. But of course, during a recession or when times are bad, you're much less likely to leave a job that you've got, a paycheck that you're getting. So when you look at your engagement scores now, and we're sort of really happy that they're rising, you also need to dig into the detail a little bit. Are we looking at really happily committed and productive employees? Or is it more of a kind of hostage situation where if the market was better, they would be able to get out of the company and go elsewhere? The devil's always in the detail with these things. So if you hear people saying, wow, our engagement scores really improved, just take a really careful look at what bit of it they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. How do they actually get to the bottom of the difference between the hostage situation, as you called it, which makes me laugh and, rings true, versus people who are sort of genuinely thankful and perhaps have observed a company that was really there for them in a time of crisis?
Yeah, that's a great question, because, time of crisis as well is a fantastic opportunity for the leadership to really demonstrate their care and their commitment. And there could be genuine increases in engagement and commitment to a company that's treated you well and looked after you. So, typically with a kind of an engagement survey or focus groups that you're running, you would just look at a slightly wider set of topics than just the engagement, which is very much an outcome variable of other things being done well. Yeah. So if you had strong engagement scores and intention to stay, you'd also be thinking, do these correlate with the scores on how their leaders are behaving, that they're treated well, that they're being well cared for. So you kind of just need to look at the slightly bigger picture of data.
Have you had any surprises that you've experienced this year in the crisis?
What I'd be quite a big fan of as well is much more unstructured, Zoom meetings. Sort of artificially create those spontaneous moments that we used to have sort of around the water cooler, as it were. And we need to be very mindful of doing that when we don't run into each other face to face. One workshop that we've had a lot of fun with, actually, and we've kind of just sort of had a big load of people on a call, but just creating these breakout rooms where people can just connect with one another. And we had one bit of feedback. This lady was saying, well, this guy's worked on my floor for 6 years in the same office building and I never met him. But I met him during Circuit Breaker in a breakout room in Zoom. How cool was that? Yeah. So we were sort of laughing that actually it is possible to create connections virtually. You just need the right forum, and you need to have permission to also have a bit of a silly time now and again on Zoom.
Yeah. And who makes these decisions in a company? Who's creating those forums?
Again, it's a great question, because, when we look at a traditional sort of learning and development budget, it's, where's the outcome? What is the key skill that will be developed? What's the return on investment of 50 people across the region spending an hour on Zoom? And I do think we need to be creative with that. There might not be an immediate return on investment. We're not all going to get a certificate, at the end of that hour. But what we are going to do is build a connection and know that, Kathryn's a really good person to talk to about this. And, I didn't even know she knew about change management. And now I know I can just ping her for advice. And we're saving so much time not going to the office, but we need to channel back the time that we still need to make those connections and, you know, to understand who our networks are and so on.
Yeah, linking it all back again to the human touch.
Yeah.
Marieke, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. There's some real gems and top tips in there.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat as always.